What's up, everyone? Mike, aka I Got This, coming in with another Fiendcast, joined by my boy Blake.
Hey guys, how's it going? Blake, aka Bad Comic Books.
So, just the two of us tonight, and it's been probably 2 weeks since we've been on. It's been a lot going on in the club. A lot of people have got a lot of stuff going on, and trying to get out there and see all these movies that have been coming out, and watch all these TV shows and read all these books that have been coming out. So we're just figured we'd check in and do a short episode. Mostly what we want to talk about is Swamp Thing, I think. The first episode at least. Oh, and look at this.
In the clutch, right
Coming out of left field.
I'm just hopping in to say what's up. I'm watching Frozen.
Oh, you're watching Frozen. All right. Hi, sweetheart. How you doing? What's up, Alan?
Not much. But I just wanted to say hi, that's all.
Hi, Alan.
I would join, but I'm watching Frozen. I'm fixing to eat Olive Garden, so.
Oh, that sounds delicious. Well, you enjoy that.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye. So
little cameo appearance there.
Yeah, that threw me off. So obviously, like I said, the big thing is Swamp Thing. I think that's one of the bigger things I want to talk about. But there's been a bunch of news that's been coming out. In particular, so to start with, Tom King has been decided to shorten his Batman run to 85 issues, apparently. Blake, are you reading Tom King's Batman?
I'm catching up with Tom King's Batman. I've been behind, but now that we have a cap-off point, you know,
there's an insight.
A few trades to come out, but
yeah. So I've been reading it since I've been reading Tom King since Sheriff of Baghdad, when it was Sheriff of Babylon, since when it was originally Sheriff of Baghdad was what it came out as. So I read through his vision and all the way till he came over to DC full time, and from the beginning he's been saying 100 issues is where he's going. Like he's going to go to 100 issues. That's his goal, and then he'll step off. I think he even said he was going to make account for the few issues that Joshua Williamson wrote in those crossovers for the Button and the more recent one they did. But so he was going to write something like 104 issues just to be sure that he did 100 issues. And then out of nowhere, you hear all this stuff that, he's ending early, and there's all this kind of, it's just not clear. I don't know. What are your thoughts about it?
I think we're probably not going to get a very clear answer from either side.
Yeah.
So I think as long as both parties are amicable and we're going to get a proper wrap up of the series, just let it be. No reason to stir the rumor mill. We'll get the Batman Catwoman series. I think is the
So I think the big
too,
there's two bigger things that come with this. I think is like one of them is DC announced that like they're going to end their double shipping. So I don't know if you've got like a like true Wednesday pull list that like many of us in the Fiend Club in the Fiendcast do. In our club, we all we're avid readers, and a lot of people read trades, and some people read have their pull list going. And recently, both parties have started with double shipping, and that's 2 books a month. And DC started it, and they said they weren't going to do it long, and here we are like 3 years later, and they're still doing it. And so they just announced that they're stopping double shipping on all their books in 2020 in January. So at the same time, that's right around issue 85, which is where he said he's going to end his run. And then the other one is being what you said about Batman and Catwoman, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah, he's going to pick up that second, a second title, and he'll get his extra issues, and hopefully he'll get to 100. But so, and then on top of that, he's going to write a movie apparently. So it sounds like
Yeah.
he's got a lot going on.
Yeah, it seems like he's going to be co-writing or working on the New Gods movie. With his very successful Mr. Miracle run, I'm not surprised. At this point, DC putting their top writers on projects might be a good move for them. Did you see Shazam?
I haven't. No, that's
Hey,
out of all the movies that came out recently, that's the one I haven't seen.
and honestly, I gotta say, probably one of their best so far.
Yeah, that's what everyone tells me when I tell them I haven't seen it yet.
They're really surprised. So
Yeah.
I mean, they're starting to get it right, and hopefully this will be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that he is a very dedicated writer, and he is a very good writer. He's fresh. He's kind of like he's just got this new take on characters, and he writes. He seems to really get into them in depth. He's reading all the. There was a pictures that he was posting on Twitter at one point of like the stacks of books he was reading, and I know that's what all writers do. Bendis does the same thing. All these other big writers, that's what they say. I just read everything about whoever, but he just seems to really get into. He writes individual characters really well. I think that's why I love him on Batman. I think that's why I loved him on Mr. Miracle and Vision. And he's obviously got a tone. He's a ex CIA agent and clearly is dealing with some shit. So, but I think that's what brings. It's good. It's the same thing with like kind of he's not a comic book writer by trade, and that's what makes it so refreshing. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, either way, I mean, bummer to hear him dropping on that. All the other things are great, and I can't wait to see what he writes next. And the Batman Catwoman thing.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like Batman. They didn't say he's dropping from DC specifically.
No, right? Yeah. I mean, he's got an exclusive, so he'll be writing for them no matter what. I'm sure. What we're just starting to see is probably some of this like more wider scale, like Warner Brothers agreements are probably part of that deal as well, which is probably why he's starting to work on movies, or maybe that's just recent with his success. Who knows? It's hard to know what Warner Brothers is doing. It doesn't seem like they really plan anything. So, so there you go. I just wanted to mention. Last Highlander mentioned Tom King will hit 100 issues before Doomsday Clock is finished. Now, wasn't the last issue of Doomsday Clock this week? I thought it was, or was that was Heroes in Crisis? I know that. I thought Doomsday Clock came out. I know there was a lot of stir about it. I have not picked up my pull in the past week, so I can't talk to that. So moving on, more news, which is again more DC news. The Black Label finally released another title, and they're going with Harley and Joker. I'm not sure the name of the title, but again, another kind of Black Label book coming from essentially from Batman. Have you read anything else from Black Label?
I just read last night, which I think you said you read too, so we'll touch on that. But yeah, another book in the Batverse.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when we were having our conversation earlier, we said, there's so many other characters that are so just blatantly obvious to use in a Black Label series. Etrigan, Deadman, the entire Justice League Dark. But that's besides the point because you can do a dark story with any character. But I was really hoping that to launch this series, they weren't going to pigeonhole it with 3 or 4, 5 Batman titles right out of the gate.
Yeah, it seems. I don't know. It seems disappointing. I always want to be reading DC, and sometimes I get heavy into these books, and then I have to drop them because, I mean, there's just so many Batman titles. I mean, they came out, they reprinted White Knight, they came out with Batman Damned, stirred up shit with the first issue of Batwing or whatever, and it's good. I mean, the artwork's phenomenal. I mean, Lee Bermejo, and the writing is phenomenal, but there's just so much else out there. Like, why go straight from this book that Batman, Harley, and Joker right to another Harley and Joker? Criminal Sanity. That's what it's called. Thanks, Julio, for letting us know. I mean, I guess the answer is they sell, which I know that, but that doesn't do anything for me. I don't give a fuck. I'd rather read all these. I think it goes much into like the conversation we had. I don't know if that was just amongst ourselves or on the Fiendcast, but same thing they're doing with the movies, man. Like, why even try Batman again? Like, obviously we all know Pattinson is pretty much like locked in. There's going to be Catwoman and Penguin in it, and supposedly there's supposed to be a Robin, which has people excited, and like, I'm kind of excited, but also I'm just like, what? Like, I don't need another Robin or Catwoman or Penguin or Batman, really. I want to see fucking Deadman or Spectre or, thank God, Swamp Thing. Luckily, we're seeing that, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree, but at the same time, I also know the movies are such a more accessible medium for people that aren't going to read the comics, aren't going to get the DCEU app and watch the animated movies. So, God, like with Spider-Man, you gotta make more to get it right. So maybe they want to get it right, and maybe Marvel set a standard in a bar that just shouldn't be copied. Maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, that trying to create that overall universe, even Marvel's going to struggle with doing that again. So, I mean, that's like, I feel like that's like such an achievement what they did, that it's almost a once in a lifetime thing. But moving. But yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I'll probably read the first issue of that. I don't know, and see where I think. A lot of with these books that are coming out, what pushes me away now is, instead of, I just don't pick up the single issues, and if I hear it's good, I buy the trade and read it. But it's hard for me not to, with Black Label just starting, it's something I like. Like, I like the darker shit. Like, I want to read it all. So it just kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, their Vertigo label has been pretty good with that lately.
Yeah,
that's some single issues I picked up. But no, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Speaking of Black Label, though, Last Night on Earth, great read this week. Without getting into any spoilers, art's on point as always. Big twists right off the bat in the story. Definitely going to pick up the next issue. This is one I'm gonna keep reading. What did you think?
I didn't read it yet. I didn't pick up my pull this week. So I'm behind on a lot of books. There are always those books that I read immediately when I get my pull, and then those books that I let stack up to, like, 6 or so, and then I read a bunch of them in once. Sometimes I do that on purpose, especially with like some image books or indie books that are just hard to follow. I like to read a couple issues in a sitting. But yeah, Batman books are always the books I read first, and I didn't pick up my pull this week. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it out. Unlike most people, I have to drive like almost an hour to get to my comic book shop because I live in Vermont, in the middle of fucking nowhere, in the woods. which has its amazing things, but it also means I live away from civilization. So my comic book shop's about 50 minutes away. So good though. And these are Snyder and Capullo's last issues ever of Batman.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. This is
Yeah.
they're going to be their swan song
yeah.
to
And
their Batman arc.
thicker than normal, right? A couple, what is it, like 50 pages or something like
I
that?
think 48, something along those lines. But yeah, definitely a heftier read than a
Good.
normal book. No, this one is definitely hits from start to finish. There's no filler pages in between or anything. It's definitely a good read.
Yeah. Yeah. Snyder is amazing with Batman. Capullo his art is phenomenal with everything he does. The one thing I love Snyder. And I'm happy to see him continue his stuff with Batman that he has been doing. I know the Batman Who Laughs is ending in August, I believe. But another one of those books that I had to drop was Justice League. Boy, that book is just, I don't know. It's just not for me what he's doing with Justice League Snyder. I can't really get into it. I read every issue up until the most recent one, and then I cut it from my pull list. So I hope he goes out on a big high with Batman, because I'd hate to see. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, good. So moving on, I think what we really came here to talk about is Swamp Thing. So let's preface this real quick. So DC streaming universe streaming app. Is that how you're watching it, Blake?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So you watched Teen Titans?
Yeah, I finished up Titans.
Overall, a thumbs up, thumbs down? What do you think?
Yeah, I'll go thumbs up. It was
Yeah.
the first show on the network, the first one they were trying out, so obviously some kinks. Season 2 will probably be much better.
Yeah, right. Agreed. And then Doom Patrol you watched?
Yes.
All but the last episode, which is the same with me. I watched the last episode, but I fell asleep.
Yeah,
it was tough. So Doom Patrol I thought was amazing. I really loved Doom Patrol. I thought it was just brilliant and hilarious and painful, and it was good. It was very good. I really loved it. And then you have Swamp Thing come out, which is one of my favorite all-time characters ever. Are you familiar with Swamp Thing, Blake?
So on a very basic level, I am more on the other side of Justice League Dark. So Etrigan, Deadman,
Right.
Hellblazer. So
Nice.
You're definitely going to be the expert.
I'm not an expert by any means, but I do my best. But I mean, and all those characters, like you said, they tie into this, which I think a lot of people have always been, or a lot of people recently have been saying about the Justice League Dark and introducing these characters. It's much to what we just talked about, with Black Label and moving back to some of these characters. There is a Justice League Dark book, but they're not really represented in the shows too well, or the movies at all. So Zatanna or Etrigan or John Constantine or Swamp Thing, they're all kind of this, in this same realm that's part of the DC lore, kind of not moved over to Vertigo with Hellblazer, and it's always just been this dark area of DC that's existed within DC continuity, but kind of exists by itself. They always meet Batman or the Justice League or whatever, but it's just always been by themselves. Their books are by themselves. You have the Phantom Stranger, you have you said Deadman, Spectre, all these different people or characters, and it's I'm ready for them to really explore it and really bring it to life. And I think with the first episode of Swamp Thing, they fucking hit it on the head. What do you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, they went with that old school horror feel, some Creature of the Black Lagoon kind of vibes. Very
Yes.
dark. It kept the vines in the shadows, which I loved. The vines. I mean, I didn't think that an entire episode of just vines was going to be creepy, and damn, was it creepy.
Yeah, it was. I was yeah, when I saw the trailer, so the vines were amazing in this. It was awesome. I mean, it was for a TV show, the 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 effects, the CGI, and just the way they did it and kept it. They went big with it. They really used the vines quite a bit, and but it worked. It worked really well. It didn't seem cheesy. It didn't seem and I don't even mind a cheesy horror movie, but it just didn't seem that way. It felt raw.
Mm-hmm.
It was scary. Like
And yeah, and
it
not
wasn't make you jump scary, but it was like it was it was there's some terror there.
my wife just had to hear the first 5 minutes, and she automatically knew it was something she didn't want to watch. She didn't even
Yeah.
see any of it; she just heard it. So
Yeah.
I mean, but to people who might be put off because Titans, some of the effects were a little bit on the cheesier end. The use of practical effects in this too,
Right.
without trying to really give anything away, in the morgue.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. I mean,
that scene, or the hospital, I believe that scene was a lot of prop work, and I thought it was done really well.
Yeah, that was definitely like old school, traditional, like really good practical prop work, and it was great. It's it's that level, it's that level that you just think about with like where you see like the exploding fake head with blood splattering everywhere, but it was so beautiful. It was done the craft was amazing in it. So what you're talking to, like without spoilers, it was there's a scene in the trailer where the body rises up in the morgue and you see the vines popping everywhere and all that, and and you kind of see the guy hanging over the leaning over the sink, and in my mind I'm going to like, oh, what villain is this? Who is that? Is it the Floronic Man? Is it whoever? Like, where is this going?
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely goes in the direction that you hoped it goes in, but it's not anything you'd really expect. I on top of that, I was happy to see all the quick cameos right away, right off the bat. So one of my favorite things from Swamp Thing is the saga Swamp Thing. Alan Moore, numerous artists, like Stephen Bissett and Rick Vick, but like to see like what they were doing with Swamp Thing, and hopefully they're going that way. But right off the bat, you have like some of the bigger names in Swamp Thing lore with Abby Arcane, his love, the love of his life. You have Avery Sunderland, who is essentially the big bad, and then you have Matt Cable, who shows up as a cop in this, who's kind of just like an ancillary character. But in the books, I mean, he's Abby Arcane's husband, so and he's
going to be a love interest in this at least.
Yes,
at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they went really. I mean, and this is it. It's not Alec Holland was in it. So for those of you who don't know, Alec Holland is the Swamp Thing. So you start off with Alec Holland as a human, and it's told different. Like it's definitely very different than the comic books, which is fine. I mean, the adaptation works very well. But I think there's that immediate love interest between Alec and Abby, of course, things change throughout the episode, but yeah, you never know. They set it up really well. They put a lot of characters in place and really set up for a grand story.
Yeah, they did a good job setting up almost every character's arc. Like you said, they introduced a lot of characters, so there wasn't time to set up everyone's arc. I think once we get into the Sutherland arc and everything, and really get into what the big bads are up to, it's gonna take off. But I'm interested to see how that's gonna play into it, just feeling like just such a rooted in a horror movie sense. How they're gonna play the kind of DC Universe hero angle to it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I mean, the hopes and dreams are that this keeps going. Unfortunately, we already know that this series was shortened from, I believe, 13 episodes to 10 episodes. So that's already, a little disheartening. But I think it was great. I can't wait for the next few episodes. I can't wait to see. I hope DC streaming app continues. It seems like it's not doing well with the way they're changing things up, but I don't know. It seems people are talking pretty negatively about it and the model. But
I hope another reason they lowered it to 10 episodes is because they listened to what people were complaining. One of the few complaints about the Marvel series, which was it's too long.
Yeah, it's too
long.
long.
You don't need
right?
13, 14 episodes.
Yeah, the
you
Netflix
can tell it
stuff.
in 10.
Yeah, it was too much.
10. So I'm hoping that's what they were doing and maybe, that cuts down the budget, gives you more opportunity to put out more. But I think the app itself is great. I've read most of my comics catching up on there.
Yeah.
As far as like reading up the Rebirth stuff, all the animated movies on there.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I could tell you though, I got it. I pre-bought it, so I got the I pre-bought a full year, which I did so because I have great trust, which I don't know why, but that it was going to be worth that. And if you did that, you got an extra 3 months. So I'm a sucker for a deal, as probably any comic book collector is. But so I when it first started off, like I opened it the day it launched, and I downloaded and opened it, and then I watched Titans the day it came out and all that stuff, and it was not good, man. I mean, it was not pretty. There was just basic functionality or like user interface stuff that was just not.
It was launch tasty. I mean that.
Yeah, right.
The product support wasn't there. I mean, you still can't get it on PlayStation.
So. Right. Yeah, and lucky. I have an Apple TV, so I was able to use it immediately, and but. Yeah, it was just like basic things. If you watch an episode, like it not only did it not go to the next episode, it didn't even go back to the home screen. Like it just stayed at the end of the episode, and you had to like physically click out of the episode and then like back to the home screen and then back to the next episode, which is like whatever. It's not a big deal. Like back in the day when before any of this other shit, before streaming, like that's what you always did when you watched files on your computer. But now, like it's almost like a burden where like you have to get up to like shut this stuff off because it just goes episode to episode to episode, then to a new series while you're not watching it.
Yeah.
So it baffled me that it was so fucked up when it came out, and there's little to no content on it. I mean. Disney already came out and said we're putting every Disney movie ever on Disney Plus. We have whatever six live action or 4 live action shows, and then like another 4 cartoon shows immediately coming out. Like I mean, not immediately, but planned right through it. We're gonna obviously probably put all the Marvel content on there in regard to any digital media that they have, whether it's the old Marvel movies or whatever they have on as far as the comics and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's a new age. Who knows? All right, man. Well, I don't know. Short episode this week, but it's good to just get back on pace, talk about some things that have been out there for a while. But other than that, I mean, I'm really looking forward to Swamp Thing next week. Hopefully, we'll be back next week with a bunch of other people, and hopefully, I'll pick up my books and read something and be able to talk more.
I'll pick a few things up and we'll definitely be able to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, thanks to everybody who joined us tonight.
Thanks, people.
Yeah. Thanks, Blake, for joining me tonight.
No problem.
Appreciate it, man.
As always.
All right. Well, everyone have a good night. We'll see you next week. Take care.